Director Olsen, you are the guy who is responsible for gathering all of the information from the intelligence community, sifting through it, and making some critical decisions, not only about who gets what, but where the danger is. This is a public hearing. Tell the American public what keeps Matt Olsen awake at night.
Thank you, Vice Chairman. I would say that this is there's a number of things that we're particularly concerned about. From an overseas perspective, it is the decentralized nature of the threat from al-Qaeda. As we've talked about this morning, the threat from core al-Qaeda is greatly diminished. It is nowhere near where it was 10 years ago. But we have seen that threat become geographically dispersed as affiliated groups and groups sympathetic to al-Qaeda and al-Qaeda's message have grown in areas, for example, in North Africa. So probably the most significant of those affiliated groups from our perspective is al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula. We've seen AQAP seek to carry out attacks against aviation targets 3 times over the last several years. So I would put AQAP at the top of the list from an overseas perspective. Looking closer to home and the homeland, the number one concern for an attack, albeit a small scale or unsophisticated attack, likely comes from homegrown extremists who may well be inspired or radicalized by the message that al-Qaeda sends, but would be a person more likely to act alone or in a very small group to carry out an unsophisticated attack. And that's very difficult for us from an intelligence perspective to see in advance and therefore to be able to disrupt.
Is there an aggressive effort on the part of al-Qaeda as well as other affiliated groups or other terrorist groups for that matter to develop American homegrown terrorists?
So we definitely have seen both from al-Qaeda core in Pakistan as well as AQAP in Yemen an effort to reach out beyond those regions into the United States to radicalize individuals who are here who may be susceptible to that kind of a message. They may be simply wayward knuckleheads, but they may well be inspired by that message and seek to carry out an attack.
Let me address that to you also, Director Mueller, since the FBI has jurisdiction over domestic criminal and terrorist activity, and I'd like your comments on what you see taking place from the standpoint of homegrown terrorists.
Let me start by saying that the threat from AQAP, particularly with airliners, has not dissipated over the years. There's still that threat out there. The individuals who were responsible for the previous attempts are still there. So I joined him with identifying that as a principal concern overseas. More directly at home, it is the radicalization of individuals on the Internet who develop the desire and the will to undertake attacks. They're finding it very difficult to find co-conspirators, others that would join in, but then again, the Internet can facilitate that kind of a meeting coming together for an attack. And it is the lone wolves that we are principally concerned about. The other point I would put in terms of keeping you awake, it's cyber. And the fact that what is happening in the cyber arena cuts across any of our disciplines, whether it be counterintelligence or counterterrorism, as well as criminal. And the various objectives, goals of discrete individuals utilizing the cyber arena, whether it be for criminal purposes or for terrorist purposes, has grown to be right up there with AQAP, homegrown terrorists, and cyber attackers.
Thanks, Madam.
Thanks, Mr. Vice Chairman.